Hello there. I'm so glad that you got to be here tonight because, this is going to be so much fun for me and for y'all. Because when I get to talk about topics that fascinate me, I feel like maybe it's something you're going to be fascinated about too. And this is one of those guests. I'm so fortunate to have so many friends in this field, and some of them are the very best at what they do in this field. And tonight's guest is one of them. Before we go further, I just want to let all of you know I appreciate you listening. I'm so glad you're here. I hope that you're having a really good weekend. And if you're a teacher, God bless you. I hope you're out on your break right now. I happen to love a teacher, and she is. And so, yay. But thank you for all of y'all that do that, because I could not. And tonight, I'm very fortunate. I get to welcome somebody that I consider a pretty good friend, probably a dear friend. He is Tony Rathman. He is the founder of EVPI. He is one of, which is, I'm going to let him take, because I'm going to get it wrong. And it's one of the things that he does the very best of anyone I know is EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. I just do recordings, right? Because I get more if I am doing voice recordings than I appear to when I'm using a device. Not always, but quite often. And I'm always surprised when I find them too. So Tony is somebody that you're going to love. And I want to go ahead and bring him in. So, hello, Tony.
Hello.
Hey, there you are.
How you doing, Kat?
I am so good and so glad that you're here. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I love talking about EVP, ITC, and of course Staticom. So this is fantastic for me to get the opportunity to do that.
Well, Roger at Arizona Ghost Tours is in chat and says, "You're awesome." So,
Roger's a good friend of mine, and he's actually when we first started with Staticom, we kind of kept it under the rug, not letting too much out about what it consisted of. And over about a period of 2 years, Roger watched every episode we had ever put out about it, literally pausing it, looking at different mods, and he actually built one pretty similar just by watching the things we had put out. So give him a lot of credit for that.
That's pretty cool, because it's not just anybody can do that.
Right. So I was
impressed. Kudos, Roger. So he said thanks. But we met, oh my gosh, 7 years ago online.
Correct.
And I had the best time because I did this evidence contest, and I'm going to do that again because I thought that was brilliant. Hi, Karen. And I just thought that would be a wonderful thing because it brought me you and your friendship.
It did.
And you won that contest because you blew everything away.
Well, thank you.
You did. And since then, you've gone on and you have just built this and built this. And the work that you've done has just progressively brought better and better evidence. And
we've been lucky in that state that a lot of the things that we have done have worked, have made improvements. Now, granted, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of ones that didn't make improvements, in fact, made it worse. But it's, no matter how many things go wrong, when you do get it right and you hear the difference, that just keeps pushing us further and further and further, because how far can we push it? How far can it go? And, when we upgraded from Staticom 2.0, to 3.0, you're going to hear the world of difference in the conversation. You remember when we were out in Gettysburg and running
Yes.
2.0, you would get responses. You could ask a question and you'd get a response. The difference between 2.0 and 3.0 is that it's clearer, and 2, it doesn't cut off. 2.0, if you asked a question, maybe 2, maybe get a third one in if you were lucky, you might get an answer. But eventually that communication would drop off. That no longer occurs. That communication can go as long as they're willing to communicate back, or we shut the machine off.
Okay, why would it drop? Why would it stop?
There were a variety of reasons for it. Everything from principles within stochastic resonance to things that we determined that based on the computer being used, there's what's called a stochastic well, which holds a certain amount of energy. When that energy runs out, the communication gets cut. So there were a ton of physics principles that went into keeping that communication not only clear, but consistent.
Okay. I was pretty freaking impressed when we were in Gettysburg.
Well, you might be again then, at least I'm hoping.
Well, I know I will be. You know, what did you bring? Because when we first met, you were doing regular paranormal investigations, getting great EVP evidence, because that was kind of your focus.
Right.
And what was your focus? That's what mesmerized you, really.
It was.
And what did you bring? What skill set did you have other than an avid interest and paranormal knowledge? What led you to doing Staticom to start with?
Well, lots of things. First of all was almost 16 years ago, because we're coming up now on 16 years of doing this. I didn't believe any of it. And I didn't believe any of it because my father was a physics professor for 46 years. So everything I asked got a scientific answer. Dad, why is the sky blue? Well, it's blue because of the atmosphere that surrounds it, because there's water vapor in. When sunlight hits it, blue is the most reflective color. That's why it looks blue. But nothing about ghosts, spirits, any of that. Right. So when my wife talked me into going ghost hunting back in 2010, on Valentine's Day, I had two choices. I could take her or have her mad at me till the following Valentine's Day. Didn't want that, so I took her. But what caught my attention when she was reviewing were these voices coming out of nowhere and actually answering a question we asked with timing and relevance. Couldn't figure out how that was happening.
Was that
I think you might have froze, Kat. Yeah, she froze. I think what she was going to ask me was if that was Hotel San Carlos. Oh, you're back.
Yes. Now I was asking if it was well, I knew I want to talk about that too, but was this simply voice recorders?
At that time, yes. What we got were EVPs on voice recorders, yes.
Okay.
But the fascinating part was, where was this voice coming from? How did it hear me? How did it know to answer? How come I couldn't hear it with my own ears, but yet the recorder could pick it up? And what was so fascinating about a vocal response was that it was like getting handed a bucket load of information. I could tell whether it was male or female. I could tell whether it was an adult or child. I could tell their emotional state. Were they happy, angry, upset, irritated? All of that came through in the way that they spoke.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell what language they were speaking. Was it English? Was it something else? I could tell if there was a territorial accent or dialogue in the way they spoke. So I was literally handed a bucket load of information before I even listened to the response. That to me was unmatchable.
I feel like that when I get them that way too.
Yeah. And that's what caused us to continue to go down the vocal response. And, you know, over the years, when we started, it was all about, can we prove that a spirit can speak? How clear can we capture it? And can we capture the best EVP or the best vocal response ever captured by a disembodied entity not physically in front of us? But it grew way past that today. And I always refer back to Rick McCollum, a friend of both of ours, who said, when I went ghost hunting, what I found was my own spirit.
Yes.
Now, he said it a little differently than I just phrased it.
That's pretty close.
But that's huge to us today because we're not chasing an individual spirit floating around. We are literally chasing consciousness, everybody's consciousness, whether embodied or disembodied. And the fact that consciousness survives death, lives on after death, and this whole study, this whole evolution of chasing these voices is not just from a single spirit, but from consciousness as a whole.
That's absolute fact. And when you approach it that way, I have found that I'm a much different investigator than I was, 5-6 years ago. Heck, when we go to Scotland or, places where I'm focusing, that's my focus for the trip. That is, I'm a different investigator than I am just if something's around me, around my house or whatever.
Right.
And that happens a lot more than it used to. But I've lost 2 parents and I've lost 4 dogs. So there's a lot of stuff that happens. But it really is interesting because it's almost like they're isolating you to communicate with you too. It's not just us that are trying to do this. It's both teams. And
correct.
I find that to be something that I didn't really take into account when I was first starting to do this.
Right. And, there's so much other information too. I mean, when people ask, if spirits want to communicate or consciousness wants to communicate so profoundly, did they help, did they help you figure out how to do this? And the answer to that is clearly yes. And I think I have a clip in there tonight that shows exactly what they're capable of doing and how they helped.
Do you want to go to that?
Why don't we play it? Just because it'll give, this is when the upgrade to 3.0 just began. I knew what I wanted to achieve. I was hoping to achieve it. And we were testing it. And I believe Roger was there that night. So was Karen, who's also in the chat. But this one is called Settings. And this was when we were literally trying to take the new system and get it dialed in.
Okay.
And so there's hundreds of different dials and knobs and all sorts of tuning involved with it. Well, I was focusing on one particular knob. And so I just flat out asked, because it was running, spirits up or down, meaning, do I turn it up? Do I turn it down? Which way do I go? And go ahead and play that clip and you'll see what they told me.
All right. Carl, settings.
Correct.
Up or down, spirits? Seven. Okay. I can go to 7.
Now, I didn't tell them there were numbers on that dial.
That's so specific.
Right. All I asked was up or down. They realized the dial had numbers on it. They told me exactly where to put it, and that dial has not moved ever since.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, holy wow.
I mean, that's firsthand knowledge. And people always say, well, did the spirits help creating it so that they could communicate? Yeah, that's one example of probably 50 that I have where they gave me information to make it perform the way I wanted it to.
Well, I'm going to put something interesting out here. To me, it's interesting. But, I've been a paranormal investigator for ever since, God was a child. And so when I investigated for a while with teams, and you find people that don't really have the same approach. And so I investigate with a few people, and we're kind of spread out, so we don't get to do that all the time. Not nearly often enough. But when I investigated with these teams, one of the guys that was there was always like, he would ask for a spirit technician to help with EVPs. If you can help us to understand you, if you can help us to hear you, that spirit, if you would ask him, what's your name? What are you doing? 7. I'm 7. And so this was back in the day. I mean, I love using my voice recorder. I get so much more evidence just using, of course, I don't always know I have it until later.
Right.
And that happened to me at Sloss one time. I'll tell you about that. It was funny. But this spirit was like, how the one that was helping to communicate only said 7. If you would ask him, who are you? How do we? So I find that interesting that your setting was going to be 7.
Yeah.
And is there a correlation? There may be, because a spirit technician was guiding that. And I didn't really believe in spirit technicians. Okay. I didn't know. I thought that was opening yourself up a little too much. And here, you just take over, no, you don't take over investigations, it's just giving up too much. But that's interesting to me. I think that's bizarre.
Yeah.
In this area.
Well, we believe today, we kind of fell under a philosophical theory called analytic idealism. And basically, analytic idealism says that consciousness is the one ontological primitive of life, meaning you can't reduce it, you can't break it down any further. It is what it is. It's there before life, it's there during life, and it is what continues after human life. And one of the real important things for us was to make sure that we don't fight what science knows, because they don't know everything, but what they do know, they're pretty good at understanding.
Yes.
And so the one thing science can't do is understand or describe consciousness.
Yes.
It's called the hard problem of consciousness for materialistic science, and they can't answer it. They can't study it. They can't do any of that. So analytic idealism is a philosophy that basically says you don't have to understand it. It is the basic principle. And now if you look at where science is going, from materialistic science to quantum physics, to what's now being called quantum consciousness, like the OR theory. Consciousness is now starting to play a role in scientific exploration, and we think that's absolutely wonderful.
Well, and people thought noetic science was just a fluke, right?
Right. And now they're realizing that things that we call atoms and other elements, when are actually change their appearance when actually observed. Yeah. And that means that it is the conscious observation of it that is changing the actual reality of what's being observed. And that
is their consciousness doing that.
Correct.
Not just ours.
Right.
I mean, it's reciprocal.
Right. So the possibilities then, when you start to back that up to things like thoughts of mind over matter and thoughts become reality, that becomes so real, it's a little unnerving, because if you push those boundaries of what can be done then by thought, by thinking something strongly enough to make something happen, yeah, we believe it can.
Yeah. Roger says consciousness is sounding like gravity all of a sudden.
Perfect example, because I mean, gravity was absolutely frowned upon and made fun of, and it took, I don't even remember how many years, a long time for it to be accepted. And now today it's even being altered, thinking maybe that science has found other elements that may be causing what we're calling gravity. But, you know, same thing with Galileo saying that the earth revolved around the sun and the earth wasn't.
Yes.
But half of the huge progresses made in science were not looked upon favorably to begin with. And even back in
a heretic lately.
Exactly. Even back in the 40s, Nikola Tesla said if science would spend a decade looking at phenomena versus material, they would learn more in a decade than science has learned in its lifetime. And we believe also that to be absolutely correct.
I agree. That man was so, I swear, he had to have been a traveler.
Could have been. He had thoughts, ideas, and theories, and he proved most of them to be correct. Now, that information didn't get passed along because all of his information was confiscated and was locked up somewhere by the government, but such a shame.
You know, it just kind of makes you think that somewhere out there, there's someone that can get to that.
Right.
And so, you know, by so many different methods, there's so much out there. And if I were rich and famous and have more money than God, I would have a reward out there for that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I would have a reward out there for that, because that is it's so potentially, I believe it's true, that there is stuff there that would make everything about the human existence better.
Agreed.
And I mean, he wasn't stupid. He was so intelligent and so ahead of his time that he was a threat, or they wouldn't have treated him that way.
Exactly.
So I would offer anything I had if I were, I'd need enough to live on the rest of my life, but I would give the rest of it up. If I were Bill Gates, I would be finding that stuff. And, you know, there's people, I know people that I think have skill sets that would be probably capable of doing a little traveling and finding things. You do too.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's so funny though, even when his material was confiscated, they had, I can't remember his name, but they had a scientist review it. Scientists came back and said, well, these are, you know, fantastic ideas, but they're the thoughts of a crazy man. And, you know, so they literally dismissed it, even though they didn't try to replicate it. They just dismissed it. And that to me says they're hiding something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no way. The people that were attacking him and the people that went in knew what they were doing and why.
Right.
And Robert says that in his humble opinion, Tesla's work was probably destroyed upon discovering what it was and what it meant.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at how even the world is run today with energy, oil companies, pharmaceutical, it's all about money, income, and controlling that.
Yeah.
And when something comes along that obliterates that option for that income, they'll get rid of it so fast, faster than a heartbeat or a blink, to make sure that income for them doesn't go away.
Well, we see a lot of that, don't we?
We do.
And it's still so frustrating to me that that was allowed to happen. And
Great.
Roger says the science of today would blow the science of the past out of the water with thoughts of crazy Tesla's creations, and thoughts would have blown apart capitalism. He's right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And those fears are probably what made it disappear. The fact that he had created a device that gave free energy, not attached to wires, which then you couldn't monitor, you couldn't tell who was using what, and you can't charge them for it. So yeah, that was a huge threat to them. Absolutely.
And I don't know, I can get on a soapbox about that without too much trouble. But and I have actually touched stuff in a motor that wasn't supposed to be and wound up getting a DC thing, and lived to talk about it. But it was a few minutes before I could. But you know, the knowledge base is so it's just so above people in his period that I just think it's astounding.
It absolutely is. And, you know, science during that time, the early the 20s, the 30s, scientists weren't afraid to go down a path that may not have been politically acceptable without being criticized too bad for it. Today, it's horrible. I can't even we've been trying for over a year now to get a scientist to look at what Staticom can do. And a lot of them won't even touch it because their reputation's at risk if they are to look at something that breaks their materialistic foundation. And that to me is just so discouraging, because what Staticom can do is not, I don't want to say it's not normal, because we believe all of what we call paranormal is normal. We just don't understand it yet.
Yes.
But what it can do is not typical, I guess is the best way to put it. The fact that I can ask a question without a mic, without broadcasting my voice, and get a response from who knows how far away, with timing, relevance, and intelligence in the answer, just blows our mind.
Well, it's because it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, it is. And yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, Roger says, heck, science was thought of as witchcraft at one point, and now the paranormal is seen as such.
True.
And the paranormal is just a different level of consciousness.
Correct.
And yeah, so yeah. But one of the things that I learned is that Well, let me ask you this. Have you gone outside of the US and Canada looking for a scientist that would help you with such, or?
We've had some recommendations, and one of them was the Rhine Institute. And I still haven't written the letter. I had started it, so I need to finish that. I mean, we've gone to BIX, the Bigelow Institute of Consciousness Study. We went to, I'm drawing a blank on names, the Windbridge Institute. We went to Gary Schwartz. We went to Monroe Institute. We went to the other one in Virginia. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. IONS, I think it was.
Institute of Noetic Studies.
Right.
Did you not get a positive response from any of these?
No. In fact, some of them never even responded, and the ones that did was a automatic reply that says, "Thank you for your interest. Please check out our web pages and our, you can get documentation and studies here." And I'm like, you didn't even read what I wrote, did you? So yeah, it's very discouraging.
Because I know some of the people with IONS who are very into this, and I can give you specific names later.
That would be great.
But because they know this is true.
Yeah, it is 100% true. And
this is the research that they do. All of the institutes that you mentioned, this is what they do.
Well, and that's what we thought. And that's why we reached out. I said, hey, I have something that is reproducible. It can be reproduced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can study this. Nothing. No responses.
That's very disheartening.
Well, it is. And I think it was Dr. Schwartz who wouldn't touch it because, again, it's the reputation. Him being a very high-level PhD associated with a major University of Arizona, he didn't want to touch it because I wasn't a PhD and not associated with, and therefore he didn't feel my credibility was at the level it needed to be to look at it. Just okay.
Well, they have a freaking UFO library that's off the chain. So they're willing to open themselves up to certain unusual science studies, right?
Right.
That's hogwash. That is absolute hogwash.
Well, that's what we thought. And unfortunately, we keep trying. Hopefully, eventually somebody will say, yeah, let's take a look.
Well, we'll reach out to people. I'll give you people to reach out to at two of these places.
I would love that.
And,
yeah, thank you.
And what kind of scientists are they if they're not interested in pursuing something of that nature? Because the whole purpose of being a scientist is to test theories.
Correct.
To test, to push beyond, or we wouldn't fly.
Exactly. And then it becomes a difference between science and scientism, which is completely two different aspects.
They are.
Right. One's supposed to look at everything, figure out through research what they believe is going on, and expand on it from there and say, okay, yeah, we believe this is happening, or no, we don't, and here's why. But if you're just going to ignore it because it doesn't fit your principle, that's not what science was meant to do.
Sometimes from my reading, people I've talked to in the fields, various fields, they're afraid. And even people who do study not natural sciences, right? The paranormal, the things that are not easily explainable, even if they document people who are having experiences, I think that going beyond that level is something that intimidates, because if they maybe just positing an idea, a theory, if they are locked in to this mindset of, well, this is a human-based phenomenon, but it's not necessarily human interaction, because a lot of this is not human interaction. It's different levels of spirits. It's coming from different places than here. It's stemming from, I know in my experiences, and I'm certain in yours, because you're getting a lot more information than I'm getting, what is the farthest removed from this time period information that you've gotten?
That's a very interesting question for a variety of reasons. First of all, if you look at the construct of time and space, that's a human construct. We invented it.
Yeah.
We don't believe spirits are under any aspect of time and space. So to say where something came from, we can't, because if they don't adhere to that principle, which we invented, and our time is a linear based, saying that you have the now, and then you have the past, which occurred before the now, and then you have the future, which is yet to come. But yet you're never in the past and you're never in the future. You're always only in the now. You can remember stuff that happened in the past and hope for things to happen in the future, but it is literally the here and now is all that exists. And we believe that's the same for spirits. So people always ask us, well, did you ask them, have them tell you where they're from? Okay, how do you do that? If time and space, and especially space, is not based on feet, miles, light years, that's all human construct. And we've had spirits say you wouldn't understand. And then people say, well, come on, we're smarter than that. We'd understand. Okay, let's break it down to as simple as it gets. If I asked you, Kat, do you like ice cream? And
yeah.
Okay. And I say to you, without using time, the human construct of time, tell me when you had your last ice cream. You can't.
The last time my brain triggered that way.
You can't do it.
So, I get that.
You can't say last week. You can't say 3 days ago. You can't say 2 hours ago. That's all the human construct of time. Something as simple as when did you have your last ice cream?
That's a brilliant descriptive.
Without the use of man-made construct of time, you can't do it. So it's the same thing in our perception of why they can't say, well, I'm located here. Because first of all, we don't think they're located anywhere. They have the ability to be anywhere at the blink of an eye and thought of consciousness. They can create any environment they want. They can be anywhere they want. They can come and go.
How do you know that?
Well, because we've done tests where we've asked them to, like we did a test where we were in Phoenix, we had some friends in New Jersey and some other friends in North Carolina. We were all connected online. We had one person write a word on a piece of paper and didn't show anybody what the word was, just wrote it. We couldn't see it, wrote it on a piece of paper. He said, okay, I wrote my word. We used Staticom. We said, Staticom, what word did this person write? The voice came back and said, zebra. Our friend held it up to the camera. Sure enough, he wrote zebra. The person running Staticom was in New Jersey at the time. So they literally went and got the information. Now, whether they actually had to travel, that's the question. If the information is passed through consciousness, they didn't have to go anywhere. The person who wrote it was thinking what he wrote. They got that information through consciousness, from our individual consciousness as being human bodied to universal consciousness, and then sent that message back through Staticom, which was in a whole nother part of the country. And it gave us the answer online to all of us.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
So,
that's mind-blowing. That is a whole different level.
Absolutely. And with Karen and Roger.
Is this 3 or 2?
That was 2.
Really?
Three's even better. So with Karen and Roger, who are in the chat, Roger went and looked up, I don't know, 20 or 40 questions online about history. Because what we know is they will not ever give us future information. I can say something like, I have 2 different jobs. I can pick either one. Which one should I pick? Crickets. You're not going to hear a word.
Because they're not supposed to mess with the timeline.
Right. And they're not supposed to mess with our ability to learn, grow, and evolve. And some of that learning and growth happens through mistakes that we make and people that we affect by those mistakes. And that's how we learn and hopefully grow. They cannot touch that. We call them universal laws. But they will tell us anything we ask about something that's already occurred. So we were asking questions that Roger had the answers to, and there was about a 97% correct rate of answers to all the questions we asked.
That's wicked cool.
Yeah.
Robert in chat said, like the scene in the Mothman prophecies, chopstick.
Right. Exactly.
Robert knows everything. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's very cool guy.
But the I don't really know. I'm so blown away by that. Simply because inconsequential things they can use to let you know something, but they can't help. They can't interfere.
Well, they can't give you what we believe is future information, which could change the path you were meant to go down, to make the mistakes you were meant. They can't change that.
Right.
And for what reasons, I don't know. Or it could be something as simple as they don't know the future either. I don't know. But we never get an answer. And how do we know that? Well, because we've asked for the winning Powerball numbers 1,000 times. We've never gotten them.
That's all right. I put my question out there for those too, and I've never gotten anything. So Roger says they can help in the moment with non-life-changing queries.
Right. He's absolutely correct.
Is that like where's the remote?
Kind of. I mean,
because I've asked for something to be, I have stuff disappear in my house all the time. And it was so bizarre. That's always been a thing. And now I have ADHD, so now I don't know if it's spirit or me anymore. And that's new, so that's fun. Learning to live with that in your 60s is loads of a good time. But it's really interesting because I will have something that I absolutely know where I put it. And I will go back and it's gone. I mean, to the point that I would never leave my keys out of a cabinet, right? Because if they're not seen, they could probably try it. But I have literally sat there and said, I have to go. This is serious. I need these. You need to put them where I can see them right this red hot minute, or I'm going to have some serious problems and it's going to be your fault. You have got to help me with this. and I walk out of the room and I come back and in this instance, my keys are sitting on the table where they were not when I was looking for them.
Yeah.
And, I'm just like, why would you even do that? I mean, I get feisty with my house spirits, but it's just like, you cannot do that. What if I got hurt and I couldn't say something and somebody had to come find my stuff or, find my keys and they didn't know to tell you.
Right.
Have this.
Right.
People think that's crazy. It's so not, because that happens. And sometimes they think it's funny. Not gonna lie. I've heard chat, but when it wasn't consequential, and it's just crazy. But I would love to be able to hear a voice, to pick up and just say, what were you thinking? And get a response.
Right. No, and we'll get to that. But a really good example. I have a friend named Ryan Skinner, and he's on Skinwalker Ranch, Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, and Blind Frog Ranch. He's been on both shows. But
when he was a kid, he wrote a book called Skinwalker Ranch.
He did.
Because he used to sneak onto Skinwalker.
Correct. Matter of fact, when we were in Utah at Phenomicon, we took Staticom out to Skinwalker Ranch.
Did you?
But the problem is that we were outside. We were right up against the gate. And we didn't have enough power with the vehicle to get it to run, which was so unfortunate. No. But there's a clip that I sent called Fish, and it's with Ryan Skinner, and we were doing online testing, and his question was real simple: what did I have for lunch today? And
we got that.
Yep.
Carl, can you?
And they're going to be, some questions will be simple, some will be more challenging. The first one I have is, what did I eat for lunch today?
Did you have egg salad?
No.
What did Ryan have for lunch, Spirit? Can you tell me what did Ryan have for lunch?
This question is for Tony. Do I have to have the image or the answer in my mind already? Or
yeah, I mean, it's going to be there anyway because you know what you had for lunch. That's enough to give him the answer.
Honestly, I'm pretty capable of being pretty brain dead. As a trucker, I can turn this brain completely off. It's like I just realized I didn't even know what I had for lunch until I just stopped.
Oh, yeah, it would help if you know what you had for lunch.
And that's part of what I'm trying to understand is, are they pulling this from my own thoughts, or are they able to look?
They're pulling it from your consciousness, which is connected to universal or theirs.
Okay, spirits, what did I eat for lunch today? And I'm thinking of it right now.
Okay, I heard two answers. Spirits, one more time. What did Ryan have for lunch today? Can you tell me, Spirits? He's thinking it. What did he have for lunch today?
Tony, what I don't want to do is I don't want to come up with the answer. I want you to say the answer, because I might be listening for a word that I'm thinking of, and with that pareidolia.
I'll tell you the word I heard. I have no idea whether it's right, but I heard.
And I thought I heard a word too. So I'll kind of wait till either they say it and you can hear it, or we're done.
All right. Spirits, one more time. What did Ryan have for lunch today? I keep hearing pasta. No?
I would die if I had pasta. I'm gluten intolerant.
Okay. You can stop.
Are we moving on?
At the end,
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Fish.
I thought for a minute I heard protein, which I found interesting. And it was tilapia fish, and I'm trying to eat nothing but like the highest protein.
Oh, okay. So there, he just said it was fish. But you know what? Now that you said it, let me ask again. Spirits, because I know what I'm listening for then. Spirits, what did Ryan have for lunch today? Fish right there. Did you hear it?
I heard that. But that's after the effect. I heard it. But I'm not going to count it.
But how many times did they say it that we didn't catch before? It was only in review of the recording that they said it 4 or 5 times that he had.
Well, I see why they cursed.
Yeah.
So, that's wicked cool. And it's nice to see Ryan too. But, it's really, it's phenomenal.
And that was that 3? Yeah, I think that was the beginning of 3. But what I'd really like to do is, because that was one of the first tests we did online. And it is 10 times more complicated to run it online because it's multiple systems. It's 2 different computers. It's 3 different interconnecting mechanisms to get streaming to the imagery from Staticom to the vocals to Staticom. Everything's got to be put together and connected. And then it's got to go out via one mic on a live stream, which is super complicated. So that wasn't the clearest, but clearly I didn't know what he had for lunch.
Right.
At first, he didn't even remember what he had for lunch, but they did know, and they said it many times.
Many times. And they were peeved that you didn't get it many times.
Because we didn't.
And that's that personality thing. People think that, people that don't investigate feel like these are just stuck in time. They're stuck in their period or whatever. And perhaps in some instances, I don't find any of them really, but unless it's like, the first time I drove into Gettysburg and I saw what I thought was a reenactment, and it was not. There were really spirits milling about this house outside. But, and they're obviously kind of stuck in their time loop, right?
Well, we don't believe they are. Now, could there be instances where they prefer their environment to be what they came out of? But I think they have control over it. And if we believe that everything that an individual human learns through human life goes back, all the information goes back to universal consciousness.
Yes, I believe that.
Which then is shared. So asking a spirit from the 1800s and saying, can you speak into the digital recorder? They're going to have that knowledge of what that is. We've had spirits say names of ghost equipment that certainly wouldn't have been known 50 years ago. There's no way. And so we believe that information is shared, and what they determine their environment to be, I think, is partially up to them what they enjoyed.
I would agree with that because, you know, I would hate to think that somebody that didn't want to be experiencing something of that nature was stuck in an eternal loop of having to be
right
at war.
And how that would even be possible, I'm not sure. And even the fact of people saying, well, you know, spirit got lost and it needs to cross over. It's already over.
Yeah,
To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense how it could get trapped. The only way I think it could get trapped, you know, and people always say, well, you know, does heaven and hell exist and where's it at? Again, back to time and space. If everything after human life is mental, then heaven or hell could be anywhere. It doesn't need to be a physical place. If it's all thoughts, emotion, working things out, you know, any instance of happiness or absolute pain and suffering is all mental, just as life is all mental.
Yeah.
It wouldn't need to be a physical location.
Well, you know, we find that with the living too.
Correct.
You know, it's something that seems to be a human condition.
Right.
A human. It's not like some people will say you are choosing to relive these negative experiences over and over, as opposed to working to break yourself free from them.
Exactly.
And I think that sometimes we'll find spirits who really are stuck in a loop, but humans, living humans, do that too.
Correct.
So that's not something that would be an unknown experience. They could have been that way when they were living, and then they just happened to pass, and then that's still there. That's still them.
Correct.
You know, they couldn't let go of it.
Right.
And so now they're going to have to live through it until they can, maybe. I don't know how that works out.
Yeah, I don't have all the variables either of how that works, but if you're nothing more than energy, frequency, and vibration, you know, you should be able to, with an understanding, and maybe there's rules, I don't know, but you should be able to break through what people call traps and boundaries and being stuck. I find that
I don't understand how people stay stuck like that when they're living, you know, because there's so many options to find the path out.
Correct.
And it's, I mean, I had an abusive childhood. I went to therapy. I walked into therapy one day and my therapist said, "See ya, you're done." And I was like, "Excuse me?" He was like, "No, you're done. You've worked through all this. You're fine.
Nice.
You know, go forth and live a good life," you know, basically. And so, you know, you either do the work or you spend all the time stuck in that. And, you know, I think that perhaps that's part of what I see with maybe what we call residual energy, residual hauntings. There's people, I live in Birmingham. There's people at Sloss who are just there knocking around working, you know. And I have a doctor that his kid, you know, he told his kids what I did. They wanted to go on a ghost hunt. So I was like, well, we'll go to Sloss one day. You know, we'll just meet up one morning. And we did. They had experiences, but I had, you know, when we were done, I walked back out to their car with them, came back, you know, went back downstairs to where I had been and made sure that I didn't leave any equipment. And I heard people walking around up around the impellers. And it was a nasty day. People weren't there for fun, you know. So I just had a voice recorder going and I just yelled up, you know, Who's up there walking around the impellers? I got 3 voices. And they were hilarious because one of them was like, bad customer. And then a little European voice said, Jawohl. And then another man said, bad customer, eat shit. And I was just like, didn't need to start anything, but just wondered who you were. I'm out. So they still interact. I mean, they're still who they were.
Right.
That doesn't change, I don't think.
No, we've had people identify past loved ones by voice,
By the voice,
by the way they respond. But the big thing between, like I said, 2 and 3 was to not have those responses drop off and to improve the clarity. So if you play the clip called responses, this is going to show that we literally can ask question after question, get response after response, and just keep that communication going. This is one of the first ones we recorded, so there's no real scientific questions being asked here. We're just seeing what it could do. But if you play that, it'll give a very good indication of the fact that this is now true two-way communication.
That is so cool. And it's called responses.
Correct. Oh, that's not it.
I don't see it. Let me go to that transfer file. You can talk amongst yourselves. So let's see what I got.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. I don't see responses.
All right, let me see if I have it. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sure I do. Give me 1 second. Here we go. And okay, I got it. Let me share this. Share screen. Let me add this. Okay. Let me make sure I share audio. Okay. And I want entire screen. All right, here it comes.
Okay.
And if you just add it in, I will hit play. Okay, here it is.
Rathman, I heard you say Rathman. Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yes, I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us? Rathman, I heard that.
So, yeah, big difference from from 2.0. You couldn't
Yes.
keep asking and keep getting responses. And again, different voices, different personalities, different dialects, male, female. It's mind-blowing.
It is mind blowing because I was blown away by two. And this is a whole different world.
It's a
Not
step
gonna lie.
up. Yeah, it's a step up from 2.
I mean, it's just like, oh. And yeah, and Roger says even when they're talking amongst themselves, there's so much coming through. There was, I mean, that to me was, it's like you're sitting in the living room with them.
Right.
And yeah, that woman was just full of responses for you. And, you know, and they're thankful that you're providing a way for that to happen.
Right. And you even heard that spirit go to another spirit, Roxy. He's talking to us. Like,
I know.
big
Yes.
shock. Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, I think that is the coolest thing really ever. And when we get through, I have some place that I think you would be blown away by testing that because of the nature of the spirits that are there. I'll tell you that after we.
Sounds great. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, you would be so enthused. And the owner would too, because there's a lot of research that she's doing.
Perfect.
And they're getting, without this, they're getting communication.
Nice.
And so with something that was so much, I don't want to say easier for them, but I feel like it is, but would give them a chance to have more clarity.
More clarity
and questions that she's not really gathering. You know,
right.
that they're having a hard time getting everything explained, and it's the coolest research, and I'm sure that she would love to talk to you too.
Awesome.
But Roger says that the fact that, you know, you can tell the spirit was a woman and, you know, their name and what they're trying to get across. This has to be so liberating for the spirits.
Correct.
You know, I just can't imagine feeling like, I mean, I know that my spirits get upset because I'm not getting something. You know, I think that's when things disappear.
Yeah,
right?
they give
Or
up.
when they're feeling like being an asshole. But yeah, that does happen. But you know, it's not really being ugly because it's almost like a prankster thing.
Right.
But I can't ask, because I'm not going to hear every time, why are you being such a jerk today? You know, what do you need me to do? What have I not understood?
Right.
And, you know, I've just got to think that everybody would love to have this in their hand.
They would, and we'd love for them to have it, because
yes.
only through other people using it and getting the same type of responses will that help prove that, hey, you know, this is as real as it gets. And we want that to happen. But we don't want to put something out until
absolutely.
we pushed it to the level that we know, okay, this is as far as we can go. So the next, I don't know, year will probably be the determining factor of, you know, how far we can get. But I think
that as they learn it, that you'll be able to, as more spirits become aware of it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I was saying before, that I just partnered with a fantastic ITC researcher and electronic engineer in Brazil. And when we got through all the contract signing and, you know, everything's NDA, can't share this, don't show anybody this. And I said, okay, here's my basic setup. And when he turned it on and started asking questions, the spirits immediately said Staticom. They knew the system, but they were speaking to him in English, because that's what they speak to me in, as well as
Right.
other languages, and I've got clips to show that as well. But I said to him, just tell them that you need Portuguese. And it wasn't more than 24 hours later, he sent me clip after clip. They are now speaking to him, exact same system in another part of the world, because he's in Brazil, so South America. They communicate with him in Portuguese now.
Get out of town.
Nope, dead serious.
Okay, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different. It's behavior modification. Is picking up, bringing a different skill set that they're
Right.
doing. They're bringing different without anything more than just the information.
Right. And the gentleman's name that I'm working with is Samuel Andrate. And his father did spirit research and wrote a couple of books and all sorts of other things. So his son learned some of it from him, and then of course his electrical engineering. But he was blown away when he turned it on and he heard full English sentences. And then he's like, I'm like, just tell him, just say you speak Portuguese, have him use your native language. Sure enough, wasn't the next day he was sending me clip, and now they're speaking Portuguese to him. Yeah. Just amazing.
So obviously, they are so enthused about having a method of communication. You know, they're as enthusiastic as you are.
Correct.
And that, I think, is your game changer.
It is.
Because they're going to help you get this there.
Correct. And they have been, and hopefully they will continue. There was another clip that one that they do speak. It's just a short phrase, but it's to my wife, and it's in Tagalog. And that clip is called Fourth Round of Testing. This was the clip we just watched was the night before. And I came home from work and I said, let's turn this thing back on. I want to know if it's still working like it did last night. So we turned it on. The clip's called Fourth Round of Testing. Go ahead and play that. And you'll hear that Tagalog phrase, Kailan, I think is the wording for it. And it means, when was that? But I'm pretty sure it's in this clip. And Cherie caught that immediately because it's her native language.
Right.
The time what? Well, I can hear you when you whisper. You know that, right? Spirits, if you're not familiar with this device is called Staticom. If you heard me say Staticom. That's better.
Now, can you say Staticom for me, please?
All right, Spirits. If you don't want to say Staticom, let's play another game. What am I holding in my hand? Glasses. Thank you. Thank you very much. How about pineapple? Can you say pineapple? Oh, perfect. Thank you. How come you can't say Staticom like that?
It's one word.
It's one word, Staticom. Have you not been able to talk to humans before? If you can hear me, spirits, say elephant.
Do you know Tony?
It's me. If we use this device to help cold cases, will you answer the questions? Yeah, sure. You bet. Thank you.
That will help.
That'll help a lot.
Okay. Okay. Holy crap. This is bizarre.
Yep. Yeah, and there's so much in there that if you don't know, like I asked the question, are you not familiar with speaking with humans? And the phrase that came back was like Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people, that wouldn't mean a thing, but I am really good friends with a gentleman named Don Phillips. Don Phillips was on Unsolved Mysteries with his abilities. And the spirit he communicates with is named Becky. And I actually had her respond to me through Staticom, and I sent it to Don. And, he said, oh my God, that's her. That's her voice. But to have a random spirit say like Becky
Yes.
blew me away. And then, like I said, they answered my wife in Tagalog, Kailapan, which means when was that? And then we're going to get to the fact of what I asked the question about, can we use this for cold cases? Because if they're willing to give us answers to anything that's already occurred, if police or FBI are at an absolute draw blank, not knowing which way to turn, this can probably help and get them answers immediately to more information.
And it wouldn't have the stigma
Correct.
that using a psychic does.
And the only reason that probably has the stigma is because you have a third party interpreter.
Yes.
Meaning they get whatever messages or information or feelings that they're receiving. Then they have to reinterpret it into what they believe it to be and then reinterpret it to you.
Yes.
Whereas Staticom, you don't have any of that.
No.
And I was going to say...
It is what it is.
Right. It is what it is. But I can't tell you how many mediums we've had say, oh my gosh, this is exactly how we get messages. I'm not sure who's saying what. And, I'm getting mixed messages from multiple different spirits and they're all trying to communicate at once. Well, Staticom shows that to actually occur.
Well, yeah. I mean, when that woman was communicating with you, there was all kinds of stuff around her.
Right.
I mean, she was getting feedback from other people.
Right. And that's the other cool thing about it now is that we don't even have to speak. We can turn it on and listen to them speak to each other.
That was the best part. I'm sorry. I thought that was the best part because, like with those three spirits that I had that intercommunicated, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Right.
But, because, I mean, obviously they have to.
Yeah.
And using other devices, or my friend has one in her location. Hey, Sue. And they will communicate through there. And that blows me away too. But because I do need, I prefer confirmation if it's something that I'm going to tell somebody that I heard, right? Because I do not go out and say, this is what I do, because it's situational. It's not
Right.
always. But, it's just so fascinating because, like I said, I can see that I'm going to have to take a mortgage out of my house. But this is so, it's going to be not just a novelty. It's not going to be just a toy or just a novelty tool. This is going to be a for real
Communication.
You're communicating beyond anything that we're aware of, really.
Right.
And to me, obviously they don't have to be in this plane of existence. Do they even have to be in this plane, this cycle of time, or, you know, in a galaxy far, far away, which is the one that I find fascinating, because I do get feelings relevant to that, you know, and so I think that makes it a whole different world. And I think that probably that has a lot to do with how you have caught people's eye, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree.
That you are.
Thank you.
And outside of the paranormal field, you know, this is something that people are talking about outside of this field.
Right.
And that interests me too, because I do a lot of different things because I have a lot of different interests. And, you know, I'm a member of the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies, which is a lot of rocket scientists and engineers and pilots and astronomers, and, you know, but it just really, I would use it for a lot more than ghost hunting.
The doors it could open are, we don't even know the limits of it yet, but you said so many things I just want to comment on. You know, when you start talking about UAPs or extraterrestrials, and then you break that down to what we believe as idealists, that everything is consciousness. Well, then consciousness doesn't end at human life. No. It probably includes all extraterrestrial life as well. And then therefore, all that knowledge is part of universal consciousness and returned to it. Because people always ask, well, how do you know you're speaking to spirits? Well, because they'll identify themselves as either spirit or consciousness.
Right.
But they'll say, well, have you ever spoken to an extraterrestrial? I wouldn't know.
No,
if
you
they're
wouldn't know.
Speaking English, and because I can't see them, as long as I can understand what they're saying, I wouldn't know. But does that mean I have or I haven't? I don't know. All I know is I can understand what they're saying. And if they have the ability to speak English or know our language, then I wouldn't know any different.
Well, you wouldn't. And, you know, that's where the actual conversation comes into play. And if somebody's communicating with you, then obviously they're willing to have that conversation of some time.
Correct. Because we can't make them speak. Right.
No. But I think that's where the relationship period can come in. And like, I have friends who have relationships with spirits in different ways, you know, places that they go all the time and they're familiar, the spirits are familiar with them, or if you have familial spirits around you, or any type of thing, you know, it's just the whole concept is mind-boggling.
It is.
It really is. And the things that could be learned or understood, or it's just I am so right now. I'm so excited for these possibilities. And you know that I'm a tech girl. I love this stuff. I don't have your knowledge base. That's not my training. And it's just so fun to consider where this can go. And Roger says, well, Sue said that even our own galaxy is staggeringly, amazingly, unbelievably large. Yes, it is.
And growing. Space grows at the speed of light daily.
And that's the coolest thing.
And in order for that to occur, so would a universal mind, if that truly does exist, because one could not grow at that speed if the other one's not, which is why all of us bring back everything we've learned and expand, because a universal mind could not expand itself. And in order for a single mind to grow, it would need experiences outside of itself, which is what human life and probably every other life does, to expand universal mind, which then expands space daily at the speed of light.
this is the part that gets me. And because we have another comment too. But before I read that, I wanted to say that, as we grow, we have so much more capability than we use. We don't even use, 10% of what we have. And then when people expand beyond that, then they are judged or considered odd or whatever. And one of my favorite movies is Lucy, because, I do think that is something that if you can find a way to unlock something, there's so much in there.
Right.
And I just think that that's not beyond the realm of possibility if you can figure out how to communicate with people that may already be doing that.
Correct.
And, it's, I do want to share Roger's comment because he says, exactly, Staticom isn't like any other paranormal instrument. It's not like a spirit box or a REM pod that can be affected by other elements, which is a huge thing. Yep. It's beyond a paranormal instrument at this point. And it's almost bizarrely beyond that. And Robert says that he's concerned about the possibility of intervention by forces that might want to sabotage Tony's efforts. Please be careful, my friends and colleagues. And it's happened to people.
No, Robert's absolutely correct. If you heard in that one of the last clips we played where they said impressive, thankful, the next statement was be careful. And what Robert is pointing out is exactly what I believe that be careful was about.
Yes.
Who would want to get a hold of this? What are they going to use it for? What's their intentions? Could it be weaponized? Yeah. There's a million concerns, which is one of the reasons why it's not available yet. And something as simple as, let's say you're in court and you're fighting over a will and who is supposed to get the house. What if you could actually reach out and say, who's supposed to get the house? And they get the person who wrote the will and said, no, it was supposed to go. I have no idea what that would do to so many systems, not just legal, but religion-based, scientific-based. I mean, this would literally just cause bricks to come tumbling down once it could be proven. And that's what we're working on, to show that this is real. This is not something we made up. This is not something we're imagining. This is happening.
Yeah. And, the be careful, I think, was just to validate that this is a real thing.
Correct.
And that the threats can be real. And right. I agree with Robert too. Robert is a genius. He really is a genius. I'm going to tell the people in chat that I am Catherine Hobson. I'm on Tony's friends list. You can find me there, or you can go to Fate Magazine Radio on Facebook and message me your mailing address if you want to, and I will send you a copy. Yikes. That was my charger. Sorry. Things are just flying everywhere here in the old, Tony has a great article on Staticom in the newest edition of Fate Magazine. And if you want to send me your address, I will mail one out, and I will mail it out before Wednesday. So awesome. You should have it by the weekend, unless Christmas cards get in the way. But it's really good because, Tony is the Staticom guy in here, but there's, oh dear, I'm going to have to go to specs right quick because I do want to let people know. There's Stevie Tombstone, who does our tech stuff, wrote a really good article report on skinwalkers, which, since we were talking about Skinwalker Ranch anyway, Maxim Purick, who y'all have heard here before, has an article, Chestnut Ridge. Richard Blankenship has The Power in Your Hands. And there's Lilydale Then and Now by Ron Nagy. And Richard Sennett, I don't know if y'all know him. He's in California. He lives in Ventura. And he wrote Ghost Boy of the Confederate. And then there's another one. Keith Thompson wrote Remembering John Mack. And I have recently learned a lot about John Mack. And I've been having so much fun with that because by the time I started doing paranormal, I couldn't interview him, you know. And so I have found several of his friends who have been bringing me up to speed. And I just think that's such a really terrific history.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. And just send me your mailing address and I'll get you one. But we have another comment from Sue. This guy is the best guy. But anyway, Suadon, FYI, our sun is in the middle of a large empty area in the middle of our galaxy, sort of like a South Sea island in the Pacific. Very isolated. Look up local bubble on your convenience. So if he says it, you can take it to the bank. And I'm going to be looking it up when we get off of here.
Absolutely.
But, you know, but I just think that you're making such a difference. And I know that you took that be careful to heart. And I also know that your wife is your research partner. And I know that she is very well protected as well.
She is.
So, you know, and, you know, you can always, you know, pack her up and send her here if she needs to get. I will feed her Southern and love on her and show her the beach here. So
kind. So kind.
But, well, you know, y'all are good people.
Thank you.
And, you know, I just think that I think what you're doing is so vastly important. And I'm so freaking blown away by the difference that you have come across between 2 and 3.
It's huge. It was a major step, no doubt about it. But one of the things that let's back up to was the fact in that clip prior where I asked about using it for cold cases.
Yeah.
Let's play, and let me explain it first, but let's play the Lennon clip. And before you do, let me explain what occurred. And there might be a word or two that's a little vulgar in this response, but I had just gotten 3.0 running. No, it was running. I had done another upgrade to it. And I was in my studio and I was, manipulating it and testing it. And Cherie walks into the room and she had a very distraught look on her face. And I said, "You okay?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" And she said, "Do you remember Lennon?" I said, "What do you mean, do I remember?" "Of course I do. He was a mutual friend of ours, childhood friends of Cherie when she grew up in the Philippines. And last time we were visiting, we went out to dinner with him. Really nice guy, but he was a politician." And she said, "He was murdered on Monday." Now, this was Wednesday. This was 2 days after. Well, I had Staticom running when she said that. And so she started to speaking, and I said, "Wait, so just don't say anything more." I said, "Get your phone." I said, "You don't have to record our voices, just so you can hear us in Staticom." I said, "And ask some questions." And so we did that. Like I said, this was 2 days prior that this had occurred. So that was on Monday. This was on Wednesday. And you're going to hear all the responses to everything we asked on what happened to him. Did he know what happened? And then we asked one final question. Who did it? And you're going to hear that as well.
Okay.
Yes, he was shot. Lenin, did you know that you were shot? Do you have a message for your family? To your mom? I saw you how they shot you. Or shoot you. Lenin, kilala mo ba kung sinong bumaril sa'yo? Yes, para mabigyan ka ng hustisya. Kilala mo ba kung sinong bumaril sa'yo? Just give me the name, Lenin, so I can help you. Did you know how you were killed? Lenin was shot and killed last Monday.
Lenin, do you know who did it or not? Yes. Can you give a name, please? Let's start with first name. What's his first name? Christian. Was that a name? Was Christian a name? Was Christian a first or last name? Okay, first name. Do you have a last name?
He even has plastics.
I couldn't make out what that last. I put it in just maybe when we posted it, that other people might have been able to make it out, but nobody else could. But the chances of getting a first and last name. Now, people say, well, you know, was any of this true? Do you know how many murders get solved in the Philippines? About 0.01%. And because it's politically related, probably nothing is ever gonna happen. But to get a name first and last, and the fact that there was a comment made with a swear word in the beginning, that little Christian, well, Christian was the name, and we didn't know it when we were hearing that. But then Christian Dredney was the name that came through. So we released it because we figured if we didn't and it got solved, no one would ever believe us that we had that. So we released it prior. But just, and then a couple of those questions my wife is asking in Tagalog.
Yeah.
But yet they're answering in English because they knew I was sitting there as well. And I wouldn't have gotten the Tagalog answer. But it's just mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. Is there a Christian Drebney?
We don't know. There was a statement that was his publisher. Would a politician have had a publisher? Yes, he would have. Was he named? The biggest problem is that there's some dangers in pushing too hard because it was politically right. So we have to be careful, but you know, so throwing that information out. Now, granted, it's out there somewhere on the internet, but you know, pushing political boundaries.
Well, that's not a good place to do that.
No.
There isn't a good place to do that.
There's no good place
That's
to do
not
that.
a good one.
But that is, you're absolutely correct.
Well,
But
I have friends that come to Biloxi from there, and when she comes when David has a tournament, So I'll see her every few years or whatever. And she has to take she flies into Manila, and then she has to take like 3 or 4 island hoppers to get home. But she talks to me sometimes about there, and beautiful and lovely and a great place to be, but don't talk much.
Right.
So I get that.
Yeah.
But and
One
Sue
of the-
said,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, Sue had actually said, taken at face value, obviously still in shock and still stuck in the trauma because it's only 2 days.
Well, but the funny part was there's only 2 voices. One when he said yes,
Yeah.
and one when he said to my wife, "I'll always love you." That sounded like him. But
Yeah.
there's a statement in there where another spirit says, I said Lennon, and I can't remember what I asked, but they said, he's not up yet.
Yes.
So is there a transition period, reconfiguration, understanding of what happened? I don't know. But I found that fascinating that they literally said he's not up yet.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that, but it was almost like you were asking if he knew who had done this, and he was like, I thought he was referring to the killer. So
yeah, and he did. He said yes. I said, "Did you know who did?" Yes, he said yes. Yeah. And I said, and then Cherie said, "Give us a name," or I said, "Give me a name."
yes.
And then they said Christian. And I said, okay, is that a name? And then I said, is that a first or a last name? And they clearly said
that was so
name.
clear.
You're right.
So clear.
Yeah. So it's mind blowing. It's absolutely.
It is mind blowing. I mean, it's just so. This isn't supposed to work, right?
No.
Ostensibly, this is not supposed to be a thing.
We got. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, ever since I've met you and seen your work and, learned more about you as, time has gone by and stuff, you do get things that shouldn't work.
Right. And so what we did was we finally got a very well-known, I'm not going to mention his name, double PhD scientist in computer science and electrical engineering. And he agreed to take a look at the components. He didn't want to hear anything about voices. He didn't want to listen to, all he wanted to see was the components, the makeup of the system. So we spent about 2 hours online, connected video connection, going through each and every component. And he came back to me and he said, okay, he said, I'm going to break this into 2 sections. One is your white noise generator. We're going to call that A. And everything else we're going to call B. He said, I have no concerns of any interruptions, any voices, anything coming in section B. He said, the white noise generator is my only concern because it's in a plastic case. It does have the ability to be affected by electromagnetic interference, a pulse wave, or possibly some sort of other energy wave that could cause disruption. He goes, I don't know about full speech, but he goes, we're not looking at that. I want to stick to just scientific electronics. He said, so do me a favor. He said, either take the circuit out or rebuild a circuit. I built a brand new one, a brand new white noise generator, and we encased it in a steel case to get rid of low electromagnetic interference to protect it from it.
Right.
Then we wrap that in military grade Faraday material to keep higher signals out, like satellite. Then he told me to pound a 10-foot metal pole 2 feet into the ground and ground the circuit that's in the box to the pole, which is 2 feet into the ground. He said, you still get voices after that? I'll be impressed. Guess what? We did it all. Voices didn't change one bit.
Get the heck out. I love that.
Didn't change a thing. And it has no ability to pick up radio wave, satellite, ham radio, walkie-talkie, cell phone, nothing. It is blocked from every signal. There's no mics for input. There's no sound banks of words. There's no voice-generated AI that doesn't exist. So that's why when he went through it, he goes, nope, there's nothing here to generate vocal structure. And the only thing that's put into the system is white noise. White noise contains no vocal data whatsoever, no syllables, no words, no sentences, nothing. Vocal data shouldn't exist in white noise, and that's all we're using. Yet we get full sentences in response to what we ask with timing and relevance and intelligence.
Blown away. I am so blown away. And Roger says you've even keyed up on walkie-talkies and handheld hams, and near it, nothing affects it.
No.
That's astounding.
No, and we've done electrical surges next to it too to see if anything changes within the audio wave, meaning that it could still, that those surges of electricity could penetrate the steel box and nope, had no effect on it whatsoever. So it is 100% protected from outside interference of any kind.
And still functions appropriately.
And still functions. Yeah.
Well, that mortgage is going up. Damn it. So, but I mean, the possibilities, Tony. The possibilities. Hey, girl.
Where's the camera? Hi, guys.
I see you. I see you. Hi. Ah, it's so good to see you.
I just want to say hi to you.
I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Miss ya.
I do love your wife. She is
So
so beautiful.
She is a wonderful
Inside and
woman.
outside. Yes, she is. So, Leonard. Oh, Robert. I'm going to get this wrong. Leonidovich. Vasilev created a Faraday cage to shield telepathy. ESP got through. So, I mean, the same thing.
Right.
I told you, he knows everything.
Yeah.
So,
Brilliant, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
the scientist was just like, he's like, he's like, are you serious? It didn't change a thing. I said, no. He goes, that's all I want to know. I don't want to know anymore. Because they don't want to touch the paranormal side because of it can affect their reputation. And I completely understand that and respected the fact that he just took a look at the components. And that meant the world to me that he did that.
well, that's if that's unassailable, then the other is too.
Right.
Robert said experiments in distance influence discoveries by Russia's foremost parapsychologist. There you go.
Yeah.
But I just am. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
I've always been so impressed with your work, and even though some of it I don't get all the time, I don't. It's not my forte. I mean, I'm kind of my own interaction thing, and even that's not always, perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I just can't tell you enough. Just with the 2.0, I mean, I had personal experiences in that room with that running, and it was impressive to me that y'all could run side by side. And so there were two programs running
Right.
simultaneously. And the spirits chose which ones to come through.
Yeah. Plus, when we switched, we gave them passwords that they'd have to say, and they did every time we did it. They'd say the password that we gave when we shut one off, turn the other one on.
And, you know, as just a random observer, which I was that night, well, the afternoon session was really hopping. I think the people in the room got tired, so I don't know what was going on when it started to slow down, but then it picked back up. I mean, it was bizarre because it never failed.
Right.
You know, I told you that my dad came through. My dad does not, as a rule, come through anything, whether he just wanted to be in Gettysburg with me or what. But, you know, it was just to me, that was odd. And Robert says, no disrespect for my other guests, but this show is the best one in a long time. So every show with you is the best one in a long time. I love having you on. But, you know, it's really the most bizarre scenario for something like this to work outside of, you know, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but the paranormal field is built around mysticism, and this person has these special abilities and that person has those special abilities, and only the people with those abilities can communicate with spirit, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I have friends that applies to, and it's true that they have these abilities. You cannot take that away from them, and this won't. But this is a difference only because there is no emotional attachment to a situation that you're trying to read. You know, there's not going to be a human element necessarily brought in, except that your friend Lennon was upset. He was audibly upset. He used the F word to describe this man, which is how I would feel if somebody shot me, by golly.
Right.
But I would probably have been much ruder. But, you know, it's just, if you take the emotion of the vessel of understanding, to phrase it that way, then, or the means of communication, you take the emotion away, then it's much easier to see that this individual was emotionally suffering because of being murdered.
Right.
Maybe he was dead. The guy was what he called him. And, you know, so there was a lot there. And to have a human element coming through a mechanical device, that to me is more indicative of the reality of what you've developed than really any other side, because with what you're using, that human element should not be there.
Correct.
So to me, that is just a brilliant piece of evidence that this is real.
Couldn't agree more. And Robert makes another just great point. He says some religions are 110% against talking to spirits. And that is so true. But that is why we think, when I said before that we don't, everything that we did, everything that we theorized, everything that we put together, we tried not to conflict with science. We also tried not to conflict with religion. The only tougher part with religion is that there's a lot of inconsistencies even within their own framework. What he's saying is absolutely true. The Bible says, do not communicate with spirits. But yet when you pray to God or you pray to Jesus, who are you praying to? If Jesus was a living human at one point and is now on the other side, you're still communicating with spirit. And if that is the rule or the law, then how come they can communicate back? If I'm not supposed to do it, then they shouldn't be able to do it either. Yet I'm having two-way conversation.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, separate entities. Spirit is part of that, though. That is spirit.
Right.
So, but it's a really good point.
Yeah. But again, one of the hardest projects we've ever worked on, because science thinks that when the brain dies, the body dies, consciousness dies, because they believe consciousness is created in the brain. So they think we're crazy, saying we can talk to spirits. Religion says you're going to go to hell. You're not supposed to do that. You got people who don't believe you and going, okay, that's way too good. He's making it up. No, I'm not. And then you got people who do find it interesting, but they're mad at you because you didn't tell them exactly how to do it. So this is probably one of the toughest research projects we've ever done because of all those reasons.
Well, they're all pretty substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
I
having
can't
the
believe
best.
it went by so fast.
I know, but I do want you to tell people where they can come and listen to you, and how to get in touch with you.
Yes.
And
so the easiest way,
Robert said,
please contact me after the
contact
Men
me.
in Black visit you. I'm waiting for that day, Robert. I really do expect that at some point. But easiest way to get a hold of us, we have a website called entityvoices.com. There's a ton of information on there. We have a Facebook page, Tony Rathman. There's also a Staticom Facebook page. We have 2 YouTube channels, Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, and the other one is Staticom. Now, most of the demonstrations, the live demonstrations, which we did one today, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, and I'm not sure why. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but we ran an hour live Staticom session, which allows, this is on our Patreon page, but allows our Patreon members to ask questions of their own to see what kind of answer they get. And the reason we did that is because there was all sorts of problems with having somebody pay money to get spirit communication, as well as dangers where the person doing it can lose the ability, and we didn't want that to happen. So patreon.com, Staticom is another place to see what's going on, but the easiest are probably YouTube and the website.
well,
And all proceeds for the Patreon all go towards my partner Samuel and my new research to 4.0.
well, I tell you what, it is so fantastic it's fantastic just to spend time with you,
I
but
agree.
to be able to learn more about this, because I am greatly enthused. And when you start getting more advanced things that you were talking about with 4, I want you back.
Absolutely. You will always know where we're at, what we're working on, and I will come back anytime.
Well, I appreciate that, because, I just love learning. I love spending time with you, but I love learning about this project, and your regular, Entity Voices has always been fascinating to me.
Thank you.
So, I know what a good researcher and investigator you are. So
Appreciate that, Kat.
Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you for sharing your time with us.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, I appreciate you so much. Come back next week. And like Wednesday night, Paranormal Experience does Mark Fultz. And that's going to be fun, because that man is a hoot and a half. He's a psychic, he's a genius, and he's a raconteur. So great Christmas spooky stories will be part of that. So thank you again, Tony. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and y'all come back. Good night.